committees shortly. Right now, we're just in the preliminary working through the language, the concepts with Democrats and Republicans in small working groups. Then it goes to committees where it'll be debated fully in public, and then it'll go to the full House and the full Senate chambers for further debate and resolution. But that process is underway.
There's a hearing on the casino today, and again next week. We know you've said you're not in favor of it necessarily, but you wouldn't stop it. So would folks think perhaps this year?
I know the city would very much like to have a significant casino within the city boundaries, and I am very open to considering that. I want to make sure that it's good for all the taxpayers and all the citizens, both of Chicago and the state of Illinois, when we have that discussion. But I'm very open to considering that and see what makes sense.
Have you had any serious conversations with the mayor or with leaders in Springfield about that?
Well, I think it's not appropriate for me to discuss detail of what we've talked about. I have met with the mayor. We've talked about many issues that are of importance to him and the city council. And we've also met with the leaders, President Cullerton and Speaker Madigan, on many issues in detail. And I'll be doing that every few days going forward.
Is it fair to say if he's to get a casino, he's going to have to give you some of the right to work agenda that you're asking for?
Well, we are going to talk about many things. Our turnaround agenda is clear. We think it's critically important. As part of anything else that we talk about, we want to get our turnaround agenda done. It's so essential for our long-term prosperity, for economic growth, but also keeping our tax burden reasonable for people.
We've got 4 weeks left.
What do you think about Sam Zell giving you $4 million to this PAC? What's your relationship to the Turnaround PAC and your relationship with Sam Zell these days?
Well, the Turnaround Illinois PAC is something that I created because we have been contacted since we won the election. There have been many donors, both in Illinois and around the United States, who believe strongly in the vision that we have for turning Illinois around and believe very strongly in our leadership and have offered to send financial support. So we've created that PAC to begin to receive those contributions, and Sam Zell was one of the early donors, but we have many coming to support our vision for how we can get Illinois strong economically with a healthy economy and a reasonable tax burden and the best schools in America. That's what we're all about.
The casino legislation right now in Springfield calls for a state-owned and operated casino for Chicago, and Mayor Emanuel wants a city-owned one. Where do you fall on those two?
Well, as I've said, I'm open to considering gambling expansion, and whether it's for the city of Chicago or other places. I'm not a fan of gaming. I'm not, I think it causes some negatives in our communities as well as positives. It certainly can be a job creator and a tax revenue generator, so those are both two good things. And I will be very open-minded to working closely with the city and with communities around the state to discuss this gaming issue and try to come to some resolution fairly promptly.
Are we at a saturation point, though, for gambling?
Well, one of the things that our team is doing is studying strategically the gaming industry and looking at the revenue and the volume of activity. You know, it's not just open-ended. You can't expand gaming to the sky and get the same benefit relative to the cost. So we've got to be thoughtful, and we should look at what maximizes the benefit to the people of Illinois and try to come to that as a solution.
Since you signed the Obama-Lucas library bill without any reporters present, first I wonder why you would have done that, and then why lumping those two together is such a good idea. But is that a proper thing to do for you, to sign a bill and give a statement without any reporters present?
That was just a circumstance. We could have just done it in private, but reporters wanted to get a picture of it. So I had been in Metro East of St. Louis. I'd been in Belleville and East St. Louis that day. The bill got my desk, and there was a lot of encouragement to sign it quickly. I wanted to accommodate that. I thought it was a good bill. I think both the president's library, as well as the Obama Museum and his library, as well as the Lucas Museum, are both great benefits to the people of Illinois. And I think they're great economic engines. They'll help drive tourism significantly and new tax generation and new jobs. So I'm a big fan, big believer. I was asked, well, Bruce, what deal did you cut, or what did you negotiate, what benefit did you get for yourself? My job is to benefit the people of Illinois. There was no deal. That bill I thought made sense, and I wanted to hurry back. I drove back up from Metro East. The bill was on my desk, and I signed it right away.
Is it true that your proposed reform legislation doesn't include anything specifically for education?
Well, education is going to be a core part of our turnaround agenda. As you can see, if you come to illinois.gov, we've got a very detailed, very pro-education improvement agenda. Right now, we're focused primarily on government reform and economic reform so that we can afford to put a lot more money into our schools and hold our schools more accountable. It's all part of a process.
But there won't be any specific legislation proposed?
What's your take on the Exelon bill?
You know, I haven't done a full assessment of that yet. There are issues, both pro and con, as I understand that the circumstances. I would look strategically at the entire energy sector in Illinois, make sure that we're competitive, make sure we keep our rates low for consumers, for taxpayers and homeowners in Illinois. We'll assess that at the right time.
Governor,
I
what
don't
about the-
understand. The workers' comp hearing tomorrow begins? It sounds like the right step as far as you're concerned, no?
Yes, it's all part of the process. I'm optimistic that we can get some significant, real workers' comp reform. We did a small workers' comp reform a few years ago. It didn't really amount to very much. And I've continued to hear in recent years that workers' comp is one of the biggest impediments to economic growth and Illinois' competitiveness. And we're making progress. I think we can get significant workers' comp reform done here in the next few weeks.
What about the medical
Thanks very much,
marijuana
everybody.
hearings? The
Thank
medical
you.
marijuana hearings today.